couple of big hitters here on the bottom. You may recognize those faces from ESPN and the Stanford Steve and the Bear podcast. Excited to welcome in both Stanford Steve and Chris the Bear Fallica. And up top with me, you know him from ABR, from ESPN Radio in DC, Bram Weinstein. How's everyone doing?
Awesome. This is some high technology that I am not used to. So I hope I'm doing everything right. People can hear me. People can see. We're good to go.
I feel like a lower left. Was that Cindy Brady in the lower left corner on the Brady Bunch there?
I'm like looking down at you, right? Like you can look up if you want to.
There you go.
There you go.
Everybody can look at Alice.
What's going on, bro?
Oh my, Jan? Like, what's happening here?
I was going to say,
you want to be.
Greg is upper right.
Well, you know, these days, sitting in a basement all day, I kind of feel Jan. That's how I kind of just feel these days.
So our format is super loose, of course. We're going to talk a little bit of racing later.
First of all, is that a Ranger sweater you have on?
I mean, I needed something. I needed an excuse to. Plus, I'm running out of clothing, so I need an excuse to wear a jersey. I haven't worn a jersey in quite a while, so yeah. Well, Callahan.
There you go.
What? What's wrong with the Rangers?
Islanders guy.
Bram loves the Rangers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. I think Bram and I have the same opinion of the Rangers. I can pretty much assure you of that. Minus 1,000.
Oh my God. So yeah. So first of all, like, let's just start with what you guys have been up to. Steve, you're at work right now.
Yeah.
So
yep. Bear and I just got done doing a podcast. Scott and I did a podcast earlier today. Just trying to get over to the very empty ESPN CAF. There's not a lot of people here. Our show, Scott Van Pelt Sports Center, is basically the only live show or show staff, I should say, here since the 5 o'clock Sports Center went off the air. We'll be here till about 2 a.m. But we are literally the only people here on campus. It's you know, we got our safe passage letters in case, you know, we got to show the security getting in the building if the cops pull us over on the road. But we got a show staff of about 12 people here. You know, screening's empty. DC2 is very empty. There's a couple security people. We got 2 camera guys and a prompter when we go in the studio. So it is as meek and empty as it could be here with this campus and how big it is.
Yeah, Dan, it's like a small university there. So, yeah. Like, if nobody's walking around there, it would feel like a ghost town. It's really bizarre. Yeah.
How about content? Like how about filling shows? What are you doing?
Well, we've had to alter, the guest situation just because, no one could leave their house. So I know right before NFL free agency was in the days leading up to the idea that people were going to be quarantined and, we were going to be in this and no one was going to be coming into work. I know ESPN put a bunch of cameras in our NFL people's houses and offices. And you saw that because, NFL free agency still did go on. NFL Live carried us through the day. That first week of when everybody was home. So it's FaceTime. It's this. I don't know. What are we on here? I logged on through my email. But it's anywhere you can get a camera. Yeah, I mean it's Skype. It's FaceTime. We've done interviews that way. We've dug up the archives on just trying to look back and give some people. We need highlights for SportsCenter. So we've gone back and looked through these days in March Madness and NCAA tournament history, men's and women's. What else happened in sports? We had a Jordan Bird game the other night that happened. So it's just, trying to get creative with as minimal staff as you can have has been pretty challenging. I do all the guests, so it's a nonstop thing of just trying to who's available, who's at home, who's got a family, who's trying to do homeschooling with their kids and has a couple minutes to tape a couple minutes with Scott. There's a lot of stuff going on to try and get us, an hour of content that is also repurposing through the night into the early morning.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, I saw you on Daily Wager. I mean, you're doing these live hits from home, right?
Yeah, no, I actually haven't been in the building since March the 9th was the last time I was on campus. We had a Daily Wager show that night. I remember we were talking West Coast Conference basketball tournament, myself and Doug and LaFonso and Seth, and that's the last time I was at work. But yeah, this week we did a couple of Twitter shows that'll be posted to YouTube. I think the one we did today will be posted. It should be tonight. Just talking about the NFL draft and some of the props out there. I've just been prepping for the NFL draft from home because that's really we know that's happening. It's still on right now. Roger Goodell has made that pretty clear. So there are draft props out there. We will be covering the draft at ESPN. So I'm just kind of getting my my ducks in a row in terms of getting ready from the college viewpoint of the NFL draft.
I spent 2 hours on the radio talking about Tiger King. So,
well, it's interesting because on the pod earlier, Steve started talking about it, and I said, "Should I watch it?" Because earlier, there's the okay, and Steve's response was, "Yes, watch it," but it doesn't get better like after the third episode. I think is what you said. But
yeah. I felt it plateaued. It's nothing like I've ever seen, but I thought it definitely plateaued at 4, 5, and 6.
I feel like though it's the first and only docuseries that I've ever watched in my life where I want to watch the whole thing again because I think I missed too many things. And I was talking about it, and there's like, hey, you remember the part where Carol, who probably killed her husband, just offhandedly said if you wanted to have a tiger attack somebody, you wouldn't put perfume on their shoes, but you put sardine oil on it. Little moments like that where you're like, did I really take all of that in?
I want to say her first line on the show is "I'm allergic to cats." I think she said that. That's all you need to know right there. It's nuts.
Yeah, I kind of overlooked that. She did say that. That's wild. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, the guy in Myrtle Beach, Doc.
Yeah,
Doc. I mean, what do you make of that guy?
He's the best. Are you kidding? I dream to be that guy. Have that kind of feet, that kind of power. He makes every woman show up and get a boob job and put on a skin-tight catsuit. I love this guy. He's the best.
He was definitely smarter than the others. Let's put it that way.
It doesn't sound like you have a very high bar there.
He's still going strong.
Yeah.
All right, Bram, since you've been talking about the I know you've been talking about the draft a little bit as well. It hasn't all been Tiger King. Why don't you set it up? I mean, what's
Yeah. So, I mean, like down here in D.C., like we've got the linchpin pick. They're picking 2. So, I mean, we're all assuming. I haven't heard anybody say that Cincinnati's getting out of 1. I mean, I guess that's still possible. I don't hear anybody saying it. So we're holding on to it. So I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do. And it's odd because the Redskins have a million different holes that they could want to fill, and they could be fat and happy with Chase Young, and we don't know which way it's going to go. So I don't know what you guys are hearing up there. We assume that somebody's calling the Redskins to get up to get Tua, but we don't know who that is or what that package actually looks like.
You would assume that they're in a great position because either you're going to take Chase Young, and Ron Rivera will have an outside backer defensive end to help that give you a pretty good defense. Or I don't know, maybe there is a school of thought now where you bring in Kyle Allen and you draft Dwayne Haskins last year and he's maybe not your guy. Do they try and shop Haskins around and they throw everybody a curveball, number 2, and maybe they take Tua or Justin Herbert or someone like that. So I think the Redskins are in a great position to either call someone on their bluff or maybe trade down a spot or 2 and maybe still get the player that they really want. I'd take Chase Young. I'd take Chase Young. I'd stand pat and
I agree too. I think that's what I think they're going to do. Like, our sense is this. Like, Ron Rivera walked out, first press conference, and basically said, Dwayne Haskins has to earn the job. And if you watched him play last year, like, you got the distinct feeling they could Josh Rosen this guy. I mean, you just got the utter feeling that could happen. And they have the number 2 pick, and they get one of these 2 quarterbacks. But I really feel like if they were going to take Tua or Burrow, they would have moved Haskins already. Like the market was just too vibrant. I'm not sure there was anywhere for them to go. So our sense is because they didn't move him, because they're sitting in the prime position to take the guy anyway, like because they didn't move him, they actually believe in him at least for this year. And I'll buy the case of trade down, get 3 first-round picks, take a tackle, maybe take the linebacker out of Clemson if you're lucky at 5, he's there, get another first-round pick for next year, and maybe if Haskins doesn't work out, you utilize that with your own first-round pick, try to move up and get one of the guys coming out. But my guess is they're not taking Tua. But that's at this point, that's my guess.
Yeah, the interesting thing, and everyone, trade back. Yeah, you'd love to trade back, but someone's got to be willing to come up to take someone. Like, why? The Lions probably aren't taking a quarterback. The Dolphins at 5, the Chargers at 6 are possibilities.
Yeah.
But why would you trade a future first-round pick, your second round pick this year, and some other picks to move up a couple of spots over teams that aren't going to take a quarterback? I mean, if I'm the Dolphins at 5 or the Chargers at 6, I just sit tight and I'm like, okay, you know what? If I get Tua, I'm fine. If I get Justin Herbert, I'm fine. I wouldn't be mortgaging a first round pick next year and a premium pick this year just to move up a couple of spots because you feel a little nervous. You see what happened with some teams in the past who have made some moves up for some quarterbacks. It doesn't usually work out well.
Right, Steve, you don't think there's a difference between Tua and the other quarterbacks?
No, I definitely do. I don't think there's much difference between Tua and Burrow. I really think, obviously, the hip thing, now and the ankle surgeries and, stuff like that. There's a lot more miles on Tua. I get it. But as far as on the field, if everything's equal, I think the world of both of them. The problem I have is when you look at those guys and you try and forecast those two at the next level, I worry that they had elite advantages of guys they were throwing to against college defensive backs and defensive secondaries. LSU's wide receiving core, top-notch. Alabama's even better. So that's what gets me, you talk about Tua taking chances, Burrow being a risk taker with throws and not being afraid. Yeah, those receivers love that because they're getting more chances to catch the ball. Guys are throwing balls. They like that. They don't want to see balls thrown away. But I just wonder at the next level how long does that take that they, you know what? I can't make that throw in that window right there. That's the one thing I worry about with those two guys. I've said since I watched his last 2 I was in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. I was at the Fiesta Bowl. Chase Young is the best player in this draft. I don't think it's close. I think he's in his own tier. I think he's a difference maker. I think he's a leader. I think he has every single possible thing you want in a top 2, top 1 draft pick. I thought the Bengals should still take Chase Young. But that's how I feel Chase Young. I like him that much. And and you mentioned Haskins before, why haven't they moved him? I don't know if anybody wants him. You're just stuck with him, and you saw how he's trying to bring in the other guys. Bear mentioned Allen. So I just think they're Snyder's probably trying to do his own thing, which we always know he's trying to do, and he just can't sit still and just do the right thing and take Chase Young.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny, like a couple months ago when Burrow and his parents were kind of playing those games in the public where they just wouldn't commit, you're going to be the number 1 pick. Why are you happy about this? They weren't doing it. I'm sitting there going, if I'm the Bengals, screw this guy. I'm taking the best guy in the draft. I'm going to take Chase Young. And then the Redskins are sitting in this pick position where they go, all right, wait a minute. Now what do we do? So I don't think that's completely out of the realm, but it just seems to me that, they're going to take the quarterback whether this guy likes it or not, and that's how it's going to end up.
Yeah, I just think you can't trade down too much because, if you trade, it would probably be with 3 because you still got to get Chase Young to me. You're at that position. I get it, but you got to think the Lions would take him if he was there at 3.
Yeah.
That's what I think, too. And then we're sitting here going, if somehow the Redskins pass him up and for some reason the Lions trade down because someone goes and gets a quarterback and he ends up on the Giants, that's the dumbest mistake you've ever made. You let a division rival get a player like that. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
Dumbest things for the Redskins. That's a long list. That's a long list.
How long is the show? Because
we don't have that long. We don't have that long.
Yeah, we should pivot. No. Let me ask a quick question as a guy who doesn't have as much to contribute on the football conversation. Obviously, we've established I'm a hockey guy. are we going to see the end of these seasons? I mean, is there going to be a cup this year? I mean, is there going to be an NBA Finals? I mean, is there going to be any of it?
I would think after the NHL, after the Olympics was canceled and NBC opened up that many windows for their programming, that the NHL would be the first one to try and get something done, knowing how prestigious the Cup is. It's the best playoffs there is to me in any sport. But what are we, April 2nd right now?
No.
I just feel like we need, like, May 1st. How much longer are basketball and hockey going to go? Like, they have to know something by the end of this month. So I think it's April. And then the biggest issue to me with these leagues is how much time, with the players using getting involved, how much time are they demanding they get before they actually, play games? How much time to ramp back up? Because it's got to be tough with, working out by yourself every single day, man. That's brutal.
Yeah.
I would, again, I'm going to be optimist here. I would hope maybe by the end of June, maybe you could try and do something. But Steve hit on something key there too. The NBC thing with the windows in July now and August is significant. The NBC is going to be looking for programming, but how are they going to finish up a regular season to get everybody equal numbers of games? Are they just going to end the NHL season with the current point standing? I would assume that you'd probably scale the first round of the playoffs back to maybe a best 2 of 3, and maybe the next round a best of 5, and then maybe do the conference finals in the Cup, best of 7, and maybe the NBA would do the same thing. But it seems like the NBA is really thinking outside the box in ways to get their season complete. So I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to say that they're going to try and the NHL and the NBA will finish off their seasons before they even entertain starting the 2021 season. And maybe what winds up happening is the 1920 season will end later than we think. Next season will be shortened a little bit, start a little bit later. But I think the players having invested so much and the teams having invested so much where we are right now, I would think their desire would be to finish up, just like we've seen with the Premier League and the soccer governing bodies over in Europe. They have made the determination that the domestic leagues need to finish. So, like, Champions League's on hold, everything's on hold, but to allow their domestic leagues ultimately to come back and finish their season. So I think that would be the direction that we're headed here as well.
Cool. I think, I'm looking for optimism too. And I saw something the other day. It was a report out of China. And this is where this started. And it was a false start, but they were trying to start their basketball league back up. And it appears that it is going to happen pretty soon. So the first cases of this started, at least as far as we know, started happening in November. Here we are in early April, and they've figured out a way to potentially come close to getting people back on the court, probably not without crowds, but doing it. And if that's what it is, then maybe we're 2 months away from talking about that too. And if that's the case, then I think it's going to happen. And I do think it's going to happen. Probably different, probably without crowds. The buildings are going to be available, so they could stagger starts. They don't have to do it in certain windows anymore. ESPN, ABC needs basketball to come back very badly too. These leagues needed to come back. Commerce needs to continue to happen here. And, for our sport, Dan, I really do believe that horse racing is going to ramp back up midsummer. And I don't know in what form that's going to look like, but I think it is going to happen. And in most major venues, when things calm down, they've already proven they can pretty safely run big events without the crowds. They're going to start that up ASAP. And I'm hoping, and maybe it's just optimism, but I'm hoping by July 4th, we're talking about a lot of sports happening in an unusual way, but happening.
Yeah. Is the Belmont's already off?
Not officially.
I've heard nothing about that, right? Belmont, and I'm glad you said that. Sorry to cut you off there, but like, people are talking in every interview that I've done. People are, well, what do you think about the Triple Crown, the Derby getting postponed again? And I say, you know what? The Preakness is going to be delayed. I've seen that, but if the Belmont's the first in NYRA and the country, they're able to run the Belmont on June 9th or whatever it is, do it. I'm not of the belief that the Derby has to be the first. I mean, it 70 years ago it wasn't that way, but could you imagine like the anticipation in this unusual circumstance of maybe a Triple Crown on the line in the Preakness or in the Derby? Like,
that would be cool. Yeah,
it would be kind of different and kind of cool, and I think that would get a lot of buzz and a lot of interest from people just to see how that would go. Look, we're in an unprecedented era in time and situation, so I think a lot of sports need to think outside the box. But you're right, Bram. I mean, you look at even someone like you and I and Dan, who follow horse racing a lot closer than many people. Look at these smaller tracks like Will Rogers Downs, Bonner Park. Like, I'm sitting here downloading past performances on these tracks, which I've never bet a cent on. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll put $20 towards a pick 4 here, just because I'm looking to kill a couple of hours potentially and watch some races. And I'm sure these smaller tracks that are still going, their handle is probably up dramatically, and they're going to benefit for being safe, taking safety precautions, and being able to put on a product, some type of entertainment product for people right now.
Steve, has he dragged you into this, the Bonner Park, Will Rogers, Monday, Tuesday betting?
No, I don't know. I didn't bring it up, but I texted him Saturday if we had anything at Gulfstream, and I never heard anything back. So I guess I'm on the cross-off list.
Be glad you didn't hear back from me. Be glad. I saved
you. This is horse racing in the weeds, but like with Belmont, let's just say they do run first. Here's the people I've talked to, what they've said to me. They don't actually want it to be 1.5 miles if it's going to be the first one.
Right.
They want to see the distance thing. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but that's the traders I heard from who were like, if we are going to do that, and it's all if, they're not sure that 1.5 miles is the way to go if you're going to do that as the first one of a Triple Crown.
I think it'll be fantastic. I mean, hey, put your money. That's the ultimate. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
You think you can? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Wanted to show a clip real quick, talking about the bear in his element. A video that we shot a couple of years back with him. Show a little clip of it at the NHC. So hang tight here.
Treasure Island, no longer the home of the NHC. It's moved on to back to Bally's. I think that's why I didn't qualify this year. It was because of the move from Treasure Island back to Bally's. I left my heart at TI. Well, here we are again, Chris Fallica, the bear from College Game Day, some might know me as. We're back here for the 5th straight year at the NTRA National Handicapping Championship. It's a good race here. Here we are again. So they bet the 1, rail first time out. Oh, yeah. It's the perfect trip. Come with this 8, Nick. Come get him with this 8, Nick. Come get him with this 8. Yeah! Yes!
It was a lot better than when I did my video, I'll tell you that.
What's up, Stanford Steve here for a day at the track, Saratoga. I got the muscle, I got the capper, and I got our social coordinator here. 471 he likes. Just got the Bears picks. He's live from Vegas. I mean, there's an old movie about baseball, For the Love of the Game. It's for the love of the horses, man. It's a shame it's only 8 weeks a year. For the love of Saratoga is basically how we got into this. Booty, tonight, backstage, ready to go.
No big deal.
Mike's gonna sing Wagon Wheel?
Wagon wheel.
I'm not hearing it. I can't hear anyone.
Me neither.
Yeah, Dan, you're no longer technical director.
I heard you guys just now. I heard Bram and Chris.
Yeah, so I heard you guys too.
When that went to the video, it said my mic was muted when the video started.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, Dan.
Just
don't apply to be a technical director, Dan. It's not good.
presented in the podcast anymore. You are live now.
Steve and Fallica, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can hear you.
A college football question for you guys. So let's be optimistic. Let's say they're actually going to start their practice in August and they're going to play. Who do you think is going to be more equipped to get through not having a spring and not getting together through basically a summer and be okay for this season?
I'll tell you who it's not going to be, and that's going to be Mike Leach in Mississippi State. I mean, new system, SEC, no spring ball, new quarterback, recruiting. Just that's a brutal thing. And I think what's important to note here, Bram, and we had Brian Kelly on with Scott last week. July 1st is the day you want to keep in your head for college football. That's when the college football, you get your schedule. You get your summer, you get your summer training, and everything is a ramp up. It's an 8-week package all the way up to that Labor Day. So July 1st is the key. To answer your question, it's got to be the top dogs. I mean, it's got to be, coaches and quarterbacks that are returning. I think I saw Clemson is now 1-6 to win the ACC. That's a no-brainer to me. I loved them last year, and I think I paid -400. So it's just that combination: quarterback returning, coaching staff. And I talk to guys that are coaching all over the country, and it's video chat after video chat with the head coach, with the offensive staff, and then I think or some schools that I talked to were just able to start. These Zoom meetings, position meetings. So, I mean, you could do all that you want, all the blackboard stuff you want, but as far as repetition and getting to know new guys, and when you have new faces and new places, that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not sure these guys are ready for. That is just going to take time to get used to when you get out in the field and you start working with guys, in person.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at a school like my alma mater, Miami. It finally looks like they have their quarterback situation squared away with Yerrick King coming in. Now you got a new quarterback, you've got a new coordinator, guys who never worked together. You've got a bunch of different skill people. So you finally get the quarterback, and now it's going to take a while for everybody to get on the same page. And a team like Georgia, who I love, I think their defense is probably going to be the best defense in the country. We got a little glimpse of what the season could look like in the Sugar Bowl. And it looks like they finally got a dual threat type quarterback with Jamie Newman from Wake Forest transferring in there. But again, you got a new coordinator, you got a new quarterback, you've got some changes on the offensive line. Again, how long will it take for that offense to come together, especially considering week 3? Again, we're assuming that we start on time. Week 3, you got to go to Tuscaloosa and face Alabama. So Steve hit on it. The teams with the returning quarterback, returning head coaching staff intact are the teams that I think you need to look for. And that's usually not the way that I go. Usually I'm not a guy who is gung-ho on you have to have your starting quarterback back to be a national title contender. But I think this year more than past years, returning experience at that position is really going to matter.
Weird year. Give me field bet in the ACC then. If you're getting 1-6 on Clemson, give me the field. I'll take the field. What number am I getting on that?
Who's
Hey, who
going
knows, man?
This
craziest year. Lose a couple crazy close games. All of a sudden, they don't win the conference. All right.
Their regular season schedule, they avoid trouble on the regular. They don't play North Carolina regular season. Are you sure that North Carolina could
their schedule's brutal. That's one team I looked at their schedule because I said they're going to be the hottest team of the offseason because they won their bowl game, they got their quarterback back, and they're killing it on the recruiting trails. And North Carolina's schedule is not easy. And that's the one team I did check a schedule out because I was going to say in a normal year, I'm at a point I haven't even looked at schedules yet. I mean, it's April 2nd. Teams are doing spring ball. We have no idea what's going on. I get your point, Bram. I totally see what you're saying. But it's just this is uncharted. What's that? Uncharted waters is the saying, man.
We know that they're not going to get together till August at best, and so it's just hard to know. Hey, Fallica, I know we're short on time. I got to ask you, who do you like? I mean, let's assume the Derby happens. Who do you like right now?
Authentic sure looked the part at in his last race. He would be a guy that I would consider a front runner right now. you don't know what's going to happen. And like is tis the law? Like if the race is going to be run the first Saturday in May, tis the law might be your winner. But how will he mature? They'll probably, for all we know, like the Derby winner might not have even run yet or qualify. Maybe they're going to be adding points races throughout the summer. So, I mean, Authentic looked the part to me so far. Obviously, Baffert's loaded. He's got others as well, but I'm going to take a little wait and see approach. I'm not so sure we've definitely seen the Derby winner break maiden yet, or maybe even running something other than the main race.
Dan, how scared are people at Saratoga? Oh, I can't even hear him.
No. Good job, Dan.
Great talking to you.
Good job. All right.
It's all because he wanted to get a video poking fun of me we were mic'd up at the NHC a couple of years ago, acting like an idiot, slapping my hands and yelling to get a horse home at Gulfstream. All because he did that. Now we can't hear him. I don't know if that's good or bad.
But he can hear us.
It's the karma, Dan. You had to wear the Ranger sweater. That's the karma, man.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
In the end, it all gets shut out. All right, boys.
Thank you,
Stanford, great seeing you. Fallica, great seeing you. Dan's got a pink guitar. Now he's got lost his mind.
Okay.
You were already in quarantine, Dan, for this. All right. Don't start cutting your own hair. We're not ready for that. All right, boys. Hey, great seeing you all. Stay safe. Be well up there. Be safe.
You guys do the same. Good talking to you.